biggest issues at the forefront of the 2024 campaign trail is the southern border. The White House is scrambling to find federal places to house the influx of migrants after receiving mounting pressure from Democratic mayors and governors to address the ongoing crisis. Joining me right now is Catholic priest Bruce Nieli, who is based in Austin, Texas, and serves immigrant communities. Father Bruce, great to see you. So how would you describe what you were seeing on the border with southern Texas?
Well, I see a little bit of Americana. I see America in the making. And I'm excited about welcoming these precious people from so many different lands, fleeing oppression and persecution and violence in order to make a new home and a new life here in the United States, and giving us in the United States a new life. I'm a Paulist father. We were founded to unite America spiritually. I'm a missionary of mercy of Pope Francis, to kind of preach mercy and to witness to it in all over the world. And also, I'm spiritual advisor here in Central Texas to Catholic Charities, and we have a wonderful network to help immigrants in the poor in general and immigrants in particular. It's also part of my DNA. I have to kind of get that in. My grandfather, Nieli, came out of destitute poverty from Sicily, and he threw his hat into the ocean when he saw the Statue of Liberty, to give him the chance to fulfill a dream of a hardware store in New York, which he did.
Well,
my
great-grandfather. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
My great-grandfather, Louis Bolus, another form of accompaniment, the Underground Railroad. He was an abolitionist in Cincinnati and helping the enslaved achieve freedom by accompanying them on a journey to a new life. So it's part of my guts, it's part of my DNA, but especially it's been part of my call as a Paulist priest and missionary of mercy.
Well, Father Bruce, while you appreciate the attributes that come with immigration and immigration, I mean, you have heard a lot of the concerns, criticisms that have come with this particular influx right now on the southern border. The Texas governor who says, that state cannot handle it anymore. There are border town municipalities who are saying we don't have the resources. And now you're hearing from a number of Democratic cities who are also experiencing an influx and a lack of resources. So with all of that, I mean, are you seeing that there are insurmountable strains taking place? And what are some of the solutions that you can see?
Happy you asked. In fact, I just came from one of those cities, New York. The best place to be during Christmas, by the way, is New York City. But they are feeling that strain, because they were surprised. They didn't have any preparation, because the busing of the immigrants was basically to make a statement, rather than coming from a kind of humanitarian concern. Much better is my dear friend Sister Norma Pimentel and Catholic Charities there on the lower Rio Grande, and I was work with her every now and then, in order to navigate some of the our brothers and sisters who are migrants, to connect them to relatives, sponsors, friends. We're kind of the padrinos. And if we could have a coordinated effort between nonprofit organizations, the government, faith-based communities, to kind of, in an organized and coordinated way, to help transport our migrant brothers and sisters. And they are brothers and sisters, by the way. They're not pawns. These are real live people who are escaping terrible, terrible persecution and all sorts of obstacles in their foreign lands. If we could kind of have a coordinated effort, and in conjunction with the different cities and mayors and so forth, I think we could really make America not only beautiful again, but holy.
So what's lacking in that coordination that you're saying? Coordination that you believe can be improved between non-government agencies and government, municipalities, federal government representation. What are the gaps that you are seeing that really can be resolved to call for what you're saying would be a tighter, better coordination.
Exactly. And the words are coordination and accompaniment. That's a key word of Pope Francis. Receive, accompany, promote, and integrate. That's how he deals with this whole situation of migration. His Lampedusa was the first place he visited after becoming Pope outside of Rome, to really highlight his love for the migrant brothers and sisters. But if we could do it, with the spirit of, the Alliance for Progress and the Peace Corps of years back and the Civil Rights Movement, we could do it in the United States. But we need that spiritual force again. And I see it coming, frankly.
I think everyone can appreciate your optimism. Father Bruce Nieli, thank you so much.
God bless you.
Thank you. Bless you as well. We'll be right back.